Hello there, and welcome back to the channel. Tonight we're stepping off the beaten path of history and wandering into its strange, forgotten corners. The past isn't just kings, treaties, and dusty dates, it's full of moments that will make you laugh, shake your head, and wonder how these stories aren't more famous. Some are oddly heartwarming, others completely baffling, but all of them remind us that history is far more colorful than we imagine. So, sit back, relax, maybe grab your favorite drink, and let's journey into a side of history you've probably never seen before. Let's get into it. In the usually tense world of international relations, there's a unique story about a territorial dispute between two NATO allies that lasted nearly half a century, but wasn't fought with weapons. This is the tale of Hans Island, a tiny barren rock in the Nares Strait between Canada and Greenland, an autonomous territory of Denmark. Both countries claimed it, despite its lack of strategic value. It began in 1984 when Canadian troops planted their flag and left a bottle of Canadian Club whiskey. The Danes responded by replacing the flag with their own, and leaving a bottle of schnapps, along with a note saying, "Welcome to the Danish island." This polite, booze-fueled flag swapping went on for 49 years, with soldiers regularly visiting to replace the other's flag and swap liquor. Imagine being ordered, "Your mission, plant our flag on a frozen rock and exchange drinks." This bizarre whiskey war finally ended in 2022 when Canada and Denmark agreed to split the island in half, creating Canada's first land border with a European country. They celebrated by exchanging one last bottle. A heartwarming, peaceful resolution that makes you wonder if more conflicts could be solved with a bit of humor and liquor. This is how war should be fought. From a war fought with civility, we move to a revolution fought for freedom, and one of the most unexpected alliances in military history. Our story begins in the early 1800s. Napoleon Bonaparte was carving up Europe, and Poland had been wiped off the map, partitioned by Russia, Prussia, and Austria. Many Polish soldiers, dreaming of restoring their homeland's independence, formed legions and allied with Napoleon, believing he was their best hope. They fought for him across Europe, from Italy to Germany, hoping their loyalty would lead to a free Poland. In 1802, Napoleon faced a new problem: the Haitian Revolution. The enslaved population of the French colony Saint-Domingue had risen up, demanding freedom and forming the first Black Republic. Furious, Napoleon sent a massive force to crush the rebellion and reinstate slavery. Among them were about 5,200 Polish legionnaires, sent across the Atlantic to fight people they knew nothing about, all in the name of a French emperor they hoped would save their homeland. They were told they were fighting convicts' revolt, but upon arrival, they saw the brutal reality. They were enforcing slavery. They witnessed the French army's cruelty, mass executions, and the determination of the Haitian people fighting for the very freedom the Poles had lost. For soldiers whose country was oppressed, forcing others into bondage was a painful moral contradiction. The shared struggle for liberty struck a deep chord. One Polish commander wrote that the French slaughtered inhabitants without regard for age or sex. Soon, hundreds of Polish soldiers made a remarkable choice. They deserted, turned against their commanders, and joined the Haitian rebels. After Haiti gained independence in 1804, its leader Jean-Jacques Dessalines called the Poles the White Negroes of Europe, recognizing their shared experience of oppression. Although the new constitution forbade whites from owning land, the Poles who stayed were granted full Haitian citizenship as a reward for their solidarity. Now let's shift from revolutions to royalty and the eating habits of the English aristocracy. For centuries, if you were an English lord or lady, serving swan at a feast was the ultimate status symbol, more prestigious than a fattened calf or prized pig. Swans, those elegant long-necked birds gliding on ponds, were roasted and served as the centerpiece at lavish medieval banquets. Sometimes they were even redressed in their own feathers for presentation. Owning swans and the right to eat them signified immense wealth and power. A complex system of ownership arose. Swans were marked with unique nicks on their beaks, called swan-upping, to show which noble family they belonged to. Official swan masters tracked these feathered assets. Stealing a swan or its eggs was a serious crime, as it meant stealing a symbol of nobility itself. This all changed in the 15th century when the English crown declared all unmarked mute swans in England and Wales belonged to the monarch. Suddenly, any random swan on a river was royal property. This move asserted the crown's ultimate authority over land and resources, even the birds on the water. Remarkably, this ancient law still technically exists today. While the queen won't storm your local park demanding her lunch, she retains the right to claim any unmarked mute swan in open waters. Year, the Queen Swan Marker leads swan-upping on the River Thames, a census and health check of swans and their cygnets. What began as a system for feasting has become a conservation effort, rooted in a time when the most powerful person in the land looked at a majestic bird and declared, "That's mine, all of them." Finally, we come to a story of such spectacular bad luck, it feels almost supernatural. Meet Robert Todd Lincoln, the eldest and only surviving son of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. Being the son of one of history's most revered figures was a heavy burden, but Robert's life was marked by grim coincidences that seem unbelievable. Robert was a successful lawyer, businessman, and Secretary of War, but he's most remembered for being in the wrong place at the tragically right time. The first and most famous event happened on April 14, 1865. Robert, then a young captain on Ulysses S. Grant's staff, had returned to Washington and declined his parents' invitation to attend a play at Ford's Theater because he was tired. That night he was summoned to the Peterson house across from the theater, where his father lay dying after being shot by an assassin. He stayed by his father's side through the night. 16 years later, in 1881, Robert was Secretary of War under President James A. Garfield. On July 2nd at the 6th Street train station in Washington, D.C., he witnessed Garfield being shot by Charles Guiteau. Once again, Robert was present at the assassination of a U.S. president, but the dark irony didn't end there. In 1901, as an elder statesman, Robert attended the Pan American Exposition in Buffalo, New York at the invitation of President William McKinley. On September 6th, near the Temple of Music, an anarchist named Leon Czolgosz shot McKinley. Robert Todd Lincoln was once again present during a presidential assassination. After these three tragic events, Robert reportedly refused any more presidential invitations, saying, "No, I'm not going, and they'd better not ask me because there is a certain fatality about presidential functions when I am present." You really can't blame him. A war fought with schnapps, Polish freedom fighters in Haiti, a royal monopoly on swans, and a man who was basically a walking presidential jinx. These may sound funny, but they're tiny, fascinating windows into history's soul. History is messy, full of greed, principle, petty moments, and wild coincidences. The Whiskey War shows that even countries can choose silliness over violence. The Polish legionnaires embody solidarity against oppression. The Queen's swans reveal the strange lengths power goes to assert itself. And Robert Todd Lincoln? He reminds us that sometimes the universe has a cruel sense of humor. History isn't some distant land, it's our weird family album, packed with stories that shape who we are. So, next time history feels boring, remember, it's a place where wars can be fought with a bottle of booze, and a president's son had to politely refuse invitations to avoid more assassinations.